Welcome to this edition of Heads Up Weather for the Ozarks. This represents an update from yesterday's Heads Up Weather, which was talking about a tornado threat, and also some pretty good downpours are still in the cards for the Ozarks, so let's dive in. Hi, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's start with the severe weather outlook for southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, the Ozarks. This is up a little bit. A couple things have happened since yesterday's outlook. This level 2 out of 5 areas moved northward a little bit, including more of the counties in southern Missouri, southwest Missouri. And a new one, which is the enhanced risk of severe weather, is in that corridor from Muskogee due eastward, including Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Springdale, and more into the Ozarks Mountains there, stopping just short of, let's say, Russellville, but generally in that very tight little area there in northwest Arkansas, extreme northeast portions of Oklahoma. Now, the tornado threat's increased, and in fact, that enhanced area is mostly there because of the tornado threat. You'll notice these two areas are almost mirroring each other. So that same area has a 10% risk of a tornado, and the definition on that, by the way, is the percent chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any point or any town or your house or where you're standing. So that's, fairly significant for this time of year. You see those values in spring a lot, and that's one of the reasons why this heads up is necessary, because you may not be paying attention. Now, in Missouri, the 5% risk barely gets across the border. In Springfield, it's not a very high risk. Not impossible, but it's only in the 2% category. But again, considering we don't really see that kind of activity as much in the fall as we do in the spring, it is, again, noteworthy to at least talk about it. On the NATOcast, this is a learning machine that's looking at tornado probabilities. Pretty much in agreement. The yellow is 10%. The only difference is they bring it closer to the Missouri-Arkansas border, and they bring that 5% a little bit closer to, let's say, Springfield and Joplin, and include Branson. So there's a little subtlety there. Now, I'm recording this at about 12:15, so at noon I snapped a radar shot. I show this by comparison because I'm going to show you some model output here in a minute. You see this line of storms. None of these largely have been severe, though. This is just plain old good rain. And by the way, as it moves here, this part of the state's the driest, so they really could use just good old-fashioned rain. Again, nothing real severe yet. That's because the instability hasn't quite built up yet, but it will, especially down in this area, as you saw. Let's take a look at some simulated radar. This is the HRRR high-res model, comes out every hour. This is what it forecast for noon, which is when I recorded that radar, and it does a pretty good job at depicting that line right there. So that's at least some confidence going into this as we advance slides here that it might be onto something and catching this event. So this kind of sags southward into Arkansas. New storms develop here. That's what's important. If there's any chance of the area being severe into Missouri, it'll be from these storms that form around 2 o'clock to the 4 o'clock hours. You can see here's 4 o'clock, and I wouldn't worry a lot about this stuff. Some of this activity here, maybe it's the stuff in northwest Arkansas, and I'm going to zoom in on that area here in just a minute and show you where the helicity strength, the updraft that it rotates, is pretty strong in a couple of those storms, which is, again, kind of aiming toward that area being the highest severe weather and possible tornado risk area as well. It's 4 o'clock. That's when the simulated radar is taken, and at 4 o'clock, the same model is depicting a low pressure area right there. That's what those ISO bars are indicating. You can see how the winds are blowing out of the south-southwest here, but importantly, they have bent back toward the southeast in this area, and that helps to enhance the tornado risk at the surface, because you have low-level winds that are turning at the base of the storm, which helps to kind of tie the updraft to where the instability is and where the tornado could form. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And so surface lows are something that always kind of tilt the scale away from, or not away from, but in addition to the hail and the strong winds, and gets that tornado probability in there as well. And this is finally the simulated radar at 6 p.m. and you still see broken areas of storms here. A lot of those helicity indicators are not there. And then there's another line of storms that will approach Springfield in the early evening. Now, I can't see that these will be widely severe, but they could be. I don't think the tornado threat's very high with these, but we're keeping an eye on that very carefully. I think the main game will be that area there. Let's zoom in on Arkansas. This is at 4 o'clock, going backwards in time now, 2 hours. And it does show, see these little, I call these snail trails. These are just helicity trails, and it shows continuity in a supercell, basically. So if you see this go from here to here, that means it's maintained its supercell characteristics. and is moving, and you can see the movement's almost due east on both of those storms there in northwest Arkansas, impacting probably Fayetteville. Again, I wouldn't marry this exactly. This could be off by a county very easily, and is often. So again, the broad thing to say would be to put that tornado risk and severe weather risk right exactly where they put it. There is also heavy rain still going on. The flood watch has been extended more east into Arkansas. Still in effect, extreme southwest Missouri, southern Missouri, including West Plains. Springfield technically not in that, but pretty close. And we'll look at some rainfall totals here. The last slides we'll look at. This is for the next 24 hours. So in Arkansas, it's still forecast to be the heaviest rain, 2 to maybe 3 inch totals through that part of the world. That's for the next 24 hours, keeping in mind that it's already rained there a little bit. And then if we just switch gears to the Missouri portion of that forecast, again, Joplin 2.5 inches, in addition to what they've already gotten. Springfield another 2 inches. So this is very, very welcome rain for all areas concerned. Could do without the severe weather. We don't always get a choice on that. If I think another update is needed this afternoon, I will certainly bring you one here on Heads Up for the Ozarks.